Hello. Well, this is OregonStateHospital.net, and this is going to be posted on my YouTube profile. I'll try to keep this short, but my grandfather, Clyde Arthur Giffen, he's sitting right here, and that's him. And he was telling me that he had some. This is the guy that actually witnessed the Springfield police come over to our house on March 13th, 2011 and brutally assault me. I'm going to give you a little bit of more information. If you look up my website, you will find some details about the CIA and the U.S. Department of Justice setting me up, state of Oregon, using a psychotronic microwave weapon on me. What happened was I was up at the state hospital in 2008, and when I was there, I was in a big scandal. Staff member Bonita Tucker. Basically, that place is a wild, wild west of civil rights. There's nothing going on up there. It's a law facility. They keep everything private. The abuse, the assaults on patients, they abuse them, and then they never prosecute the staff when it happens. And the staff run around acting like they're the victims because that's what they're paid to do. Now, originally I was at the state hospital. Let me just give you a brief history. I was only there because I went there for an evaluation. And Oregon is different than other states. They send everyone to the central stupid state hospital if they are questioned on their fitness to proceed in court. Now, I was not, there was no evidence I couldn't go to court back in 2004. But my attorney, it's like they look for an opportunity to push people down the mental health system. Well, I went there for an evaluation, 2004, and Jeff Hudson beat me up, and there was staff harassing me. And they were like, they're this weird, aggressive little union up there. A bunch of stupid shit they do. They don't help patients. I was on one-to-one, and they're supposed to be helping me with stuff. I was kind of feeling depressed, and I didn't want to be there. That's the only thing going on. They didn't put me on meds for many months until I got assaulted by Jeff Hudson, and he lied about it and said I guess they were treating me like I was responsible for it, and they didn't want him to get in trouble. And all the staff were together in harassing the patients. There was multiple patients getting harassed. It wasn't just me. So I got beat up, falsely medicated, and labeled mentally ill, and it screwed my legal case up. So I go back to court, and my attorney refuses to work with me. He's already got it set up for a mental health defense, even though there was no mental health issues involved, other than PTSD maybe. And I didn't even do anything. Menacing harassment were my charges, misdemeanors. Like, just a brief episode where, it wasn't even a crime what I did, but I still got prosecuted like it was, because nobody did any investigation or nothing into it. So what happens is, I do the guilty except for insanity because my attorney forces me. Says it's not a conviction. Oh, it's going to be good. He even lies and increases my charge on the last day. So, what happened was I stayed at the hospital, went there. After my release was revoked because I was living in a group home that wasn't. I was forced into a terrible system. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. The system of forced to live in a group home under the PSRB. Everyone has problems with it. It's like you're taken from your life. You can't do what you want to do. You don't get to go to school or work. They keep you from things that are normal, and they nitpick at you and force you to live in this weird little house where the staff, they're just there to make money off of you, and if you have any conflict with them, you're going to be the one getting booted out. And it's the same thing. My conflict was that I thought the staff were just abusive, and I didn't like staying there. And I was forced to do things. I wasn't getting help. I was supposed to be getting help with counseling and going to school, and they never helped me. So those were my problems. So anyway, up to state hospital, Bonita Tucker, a staff member, sexually assaulted me, abusing me. And she does some things, giving her cell phone number, email address. Wants to meet up when I get out. I witnessed her with other patients, David Anderson, Clifford Beers, doing things, bringing in contraband. I tried to get help. I didn't know what to do because she was forcing me to be her friend and talk to her. And she was this weird, fat little lady that got away with things. And the union members, they saw this going on. Staff members, Jeff Burkholz, Gus, All the staff, they knew what was going on, and they hid this for many years. Now, in 2000, my release was sabotaged after they protected her and lied. They set up a whole thing talking about how I was a stalker and a sexual predator. They made up a story about how I got her email address and stuff. She gave it to me on a paper. They said that I got it some other way. And OIT, even though they knew this went on in early 2006, didn't report it to OIT, nobody. And finally, the investigation was done after I sent out a big email, or a big letter, to everybody, so many different people at the hospital. I said, look, I was touched inappropriately by her, she screwed up my treatment and all this. It was all true. Well, OIT came out and investigated it. State police came out and harassed me over it. They said, well, you're a stalker, aren't you? You're going to go try to contact her again. I said, what are you talking about? They were abusing me. They didn't even try to investigate this. They acted like they were coming in to cover up a crime by claiming what does the state police do? When they get a report of something from the staff, they come in and try to make sure that the staff do not get in trouble for it. It's a legitimate backdoor arrangement. So they'll come after the patient every time. So anyway, the Bonnie and Tucker stuff exploded. I was getting abused nearly a year after I should have been released. I had conditional release approval from the PSRB and the hospital. Hospital approved it February 2006. I was still there in December 2006, getting set up to look mentally ill. I got assaulted by another staff member. He beat me up, busted my face up. He had a major history of this. He'd gotten in fist fights with other patients. He'd been pushing them around. He'd hurt many patients, 3 different patients in just that 6-month period besides me. A guy named Robbie Mitchell, another guy whose name slips me, and then another guy who was there before I got to that unit on 50D, Martine Turner. Anyway, Bonnie Tucker helps David Anderson, her new patient boyfriend, escape. I previously reported that whole damn incident. In 2006 to OIT, I said, look, she's doing this with other patients. David Anderson is one of them, Clifford Beers. I gave all the details about the contraband. Anyway, state hospital, she helps them escape. There's like 20 different staff members helping these little peckers, and they're covering everything up. There's a bunch of nurses from 48B. There's nurses all in the hospital helping this stuff go on. Bonnie Tucker is profiting off of this, smuggling drugs for the patients who she is having circulate the drugs for her. John Eastman was one of her contacts. Like, she forced him to distribute drugs for her. And he had other things going on too. I mean, he'd done it before, but I mean, she knew who to go to have her drugs circulated in the hospital. David and Gino got escaped in 2007. Bolt cutters were smuggled in for them. They had saw blades, hack blades, all sorts of crap. Bonnie Tucker, the staff member, was waiting at the getaway house. The car is driven by an ex-staff member. Dude, there's so many staff involved, and they found that the packages that were sent to the hospital didn't even have Gino or David's name on them. They had nicknames, so the staff knew the nicknames of the patients and were routing it through the hospital with nicknames to the correct bed. Like, there were probably 20 to 30, 50 staff involved. I mean, so many staff at the hospital were helping Gino and David, and this back door of staff. There were so many staff involved, profiting off of this probably. So none of the staff got in trouble. They tried to cover it all up for nearly a year, and Bonnie Tucker, well, she doesn't get a crime charge. The state finally gives her a false charge of some drugs and escape because she tried to mail in some morphine and amphetamine in 2008, and they caught that. But they actually had for the previous year been trying to deny that anything went on. They covered up my case. They hid my case at her trial. They hid the case of John Eastman and all the other evidence against her. They were protecting the staff, and they brought in the psychotronic weapon, the synthetic telepathy. They were actually brought this in for the cover-up so that they could watch everybody. They could see and hear through the walls, read their brainwaves. They weren't interested in criminal justice. They weren't trying to clean up the hospital. They were wanting to keep it tight and make sure that no one found out what was going on or what happened to me. I was being controlled by the staff. They're ransacking my legal paperwork. They're bullying me around. They unlawfully experimented on me with this weapon. They were trying to prove that find a way to make me look mentally ill so that they could hide all this and make me sound paranoid. And I went through a lot of abuses. I'm getting called names, setting me up, calling me pedophile, rapist, sexual predator, you know, I'm a faggot, I'm a rapo, I'm this. Staff members openly would see me and say, oh, look, what a coincidence, it's a stalker. And they'd be talking around me all the time. And I never knew at first that they had this technology outside the building until 2008. They'd been using it for the previous year. I heard them talking about it the whole time in 2007, like things that they shouldn't have known, but they knew it. And talking about me and seeming to know what I was doing in my room and on the phone and everything. Staff members refusing to help me. You know, they had opportunities to do it and they didn't. And they were sitting there like treating me badly, keeping me in their control, refusing, saying things that weren't true all the time. They were, you know, getting away with crimes. So in May of 2008, I caught the staff on tape talking about the technology outside of the building, talking about the Bonita Tucker scandal, how they lack liability insurance, the hospital, and the state. That was their motivation. They ransacked my paperwork, stole some notes. They had them, they were reading them, and they refused to give them back when I asked for them. They let David Anderson assault me on camera. They were doing all these things in secret on 48B. I got assaulted by Jeff Hudson. He was punching me in the face multiple times, suffocating me on camera. Another nurse helped suffocate me. They were giving me meds when they weren't supposed to. I had an outside doctor, Dr. Suko, said they couldn't do it. Dr. Suko said 3 different times they weren't allowed to medicate me and that I was competent and that I didn't have psychosis, and they were giving me meds for it anyway. They were giving me shots and assaulting me. They said, no one's going to help you. No one cares about your rights. And they sat there and assaulted me multiple times. Over 20 different times I was assaulted with medication. And I told the staff, you know, they weren't allowed to do it. Here's my paperwork. They said, we don't care. You know, they were abusing me on purpose. And they talked about how they were told to do things to me on purpose. Get them in the restraints on purpose. You know, don't let them, you know, do this or that, you know, don't let them call the FBI and stuff. They were doing it on purpose. They wanted to get me in restraints so that they could build a false case to have me legitly medicated. They were bullying me and pushing me around and saying that I was doing things I wasn't in my medical record just so that they could get away with stuff. Now in August of 2008, I tried to contact the media about it, and I have dates and times when the staff originally were talking on camera. You could see them coordinating, getting messages from outside the building somehow, and talking about things and doing things and even saying things that they should have known. They'd be walking by saying stuff and talking out in the hallway, laughing about it. They're like, oh, he knew about it, he knows about this. They come up and they knew about it. They were doing it all on camera, and it was all there to be seen. I reported it to the governor's office, OIT, Disciplinary Rights Oregon. I sent a big email. It's on my website in the evidence and files section. If anyone wanted to check that security footage, and they already knew it was happening, that was the problem. Nobody would do anything because they were all involved. Disciplinary Rights Oregon, OIT, they had this technology and they were using it for spying to cover it up. The state police, the governor's office, DHS administrator Bob Nickel, he actually told me it'd be investigated, and it wasn't. OIT covered it up. Now what happens is Jeff Hudson was a staff member who assaulted me. Assault 2 or 1. He beat me up badly. They had evidence, security footage, pictures. They covered that up and said I did it all myself just so that no criminal thing would ever happen, because they didn't want to, if any criminal investigation was started back then and they prosecuted anybody, any staff member got exposed or any attorney got involved from the outside, they would find evidence about the spying, the technology, and my abuse. So they covered it up and just said nothing was going on. They set me up to look mentally ill. August of 2008, they used this weapon on me to try to murder me in my cell, flooding my body with microwaves. I was convulsing and basically I was injured from meds and this technology, and that's why I was convulsing. My body was sensitive. It's called you become sensitive after taking antipsychotics. It's typical that I don't know, maybe the technology has a mode where they actually can induce convulsions and pulsating on your muscles, but my muscles were going like this really fast. My eyeballs, my esophagus moving just like that, like picture the organ in between my fingers. And it was pulsating. I was buzzing around, whipping inside of my stomach, my heart. I got really screwed up, and the first message they told me was like, you spy for the Statesman Journal, Dion Major spies for the CIA, and you're being set up to look psychotic. And it was a frame, and they were using this weapon. Staff members were linked up. It's called remote neural monitoring, and electronic brain link, or synthetic telepathy. It's just a brain computer interface designed to manipulate and read the nervous system from afar. It can also do things to your environment, you know, manipulate atoms and sound and air particles, advanced electromagnetic imaging technology to scan objects and different things through the walls and see and hear and all that. They can see what you see, what you hear, what you feel. Everything in your brain and body can be remotely read from afar. The signals, the radio waves from your neurons. It's crazy. So anyway, that was the start of the setup. The CIA was in control. They were abusing me in secret. The state hospital was hiding what happened. I was badly injured. Had 170 pulse, almost died. I thought I was being murdered. They covered it up, and I got out of the state hospital by pretending this wasn't happening. And staff were abusing me the whole time, making fun of me. They were using this technology. There was this whole spy operation going on the whole time from 2008 onwards. 2010, I get out, and I'm released to the community, and they go out and they make all these special arrangements. They find providers who are going to work for them. They told everyone. Everyone knew. Every interview I went to, the counties and the staff members and the house group homes were told what was going on, and they didn't help, but they were getting set. They were being picked to control me. Who would work with them and who wouldn't? Lynn County was someone who didn't want me there. They said, I don't really think this is a psychosis. Isn't something else going on? There was a woman up there. I think she might have been trying to help me at first, but I didn't know at the time that that's what she was saying or doing. But she refused to have me there because she obviously didn't believe what the state was doing was right, or she didn't believe that I had psychosis. It was me being abused that was causing me to be locked up in the first place, right? Or stuck there. So, she knew that I was going to continue to have problems. If I'm being remotely targeted and abused, she didn't want to deal with what they were doing. They found Eugene, though, Laurel Hill Center, in my own apartment, and these people all worked to help hide my abuse. All the city infrastructure, Springfield, Eugene, Sacred Heart, hospitals, Lane County Mental Health, the county services, everyone's involved and knows. And I think that all the police throughout Oregon know. I've actually become aware that this is police technology that they have everywhere. And every police, it's not a secret amongst the police. They know that this technology exists and they're using it. And they get away with using it. And I explored the state. And I found cops everywhere who were treating me oddly and actually at first it was treated like this was some weird thing going on that was, I don't know. So I got beat up by these two cops though who were working with this. They were harassing me in 2011, 2010, making fun of me. They had access to conversations I had in my apartment on Facebook. Stuff my friends said. They knew the term psychotronics. And they were harassing me, threatening me, and I was getting messages. When I contacted the FBI, I got dreams. They created some dreams about Obama and Hillary Clinton, and basically I was the boy in the White House with muscle problems, and it was a secret, and it was just abusive. I guess this is being done under Obama's order. That's all I could say. The CIA and the FBI, and there's an FBI agent Roberts involved, and these two cops that I got assaulted from. Well, I'm going to skip over the fact that I believe let me just put this in there. My parents, my grandparents, and family are also involved. Here's how it worked. They went to my family just the same as these mental health people and different county services, and they all acted like it was a game and that they needed help from my family to keep control over me. Sometimes they'd communicate through my family about it. They'd tell my family everything, right? And they were protecting my family this whole time because they thought, what if he tries to do something if he knows everyone's involved with, So they'd sit there and use this technology you know, on me to hurt me and protect these people, and it was keeping everything a secret so no one got in trouble. That's what was going on. But on the date of March 13th, 2011, my grandfather came. I went to my grandfather. I said, look, just come clean. I need help. They're killing me. My body's so swollen and fucked up I can't do anything. They're torturing me, sexually abusing me. And what happens, I was laying in bed. They're actually sexually abusing me. Photons, here's how it works. Photons, light energy, is focused at a specific point. Usually it'll come from multiple directions, right? And it'll build up at a certain location. And it travels through the walls. Radio waves travel through the walls. Microwaves, light energy, photons. Even light energy travels through the walls. Light, photons, it's called teleportation. They teleport through the walls. It's not always visible, but photons teleport through the walls. So you cannot get away from this. But anyway, they can focus on your body from multiple miles away, possibly from 10, 20 miles away. It'd still work. And it's being focused on the location that I'm in, and they could use to image the location they're focusing on, or to do things to a person. Heat, cold, tingle, push, move tissue around. Photons flood my tissue and move around my genitals. They can tickle my genitals, expand my tissue, all this, do all sorts of crazy things to me. And I was laying there having that done. They're talking to me, harassing me, automated messages, dreams that were simulated, and talking to me just all day long. Abusive rhetoric is what they used to call it. And abusive rhetoric is when they're just giving me, flooding my mind with abusive messages and stupid crap all day long. What happens was I went to my grandpa for help, and he goes to the police, and he started an incident. He didn't want to expose himself. He didn't want to admit to what he was doing, and so he went to the police acting like he was going to get something from that. And they come over, and I knew who both of them were, and they sat there and lied about the whole thing. I sat there and I knew they were never going to admit to using an energy weapon on me, because that's a serious crime. That's like treason. That's like attempted murder and rape and sodomy. It's all the bad things, assault.